Good morning, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to our Sunday morning Tanya class. We were away last week, but it's nice to be back. We are holding by chapter 37. In your Tanya bilingual edition, it can be found on page 167. In the previous two chapters, the Alter Rebbe discussed the importance of the mitzvahs that we do with our body, with our power of faculty, with our power of action, the action mitzvahs. There are many different types of mitzvahs, as you know. There's a mitzvah to daven. With what do you daven? With your mind and with your heart, and maybe with your lips. Okay. You have to learn a mitzvah to learn Torah. Again, you do it with your mind, with your lips, and sometimes not even with your lips. You're just thinking, thinking about Torah matters. So those are not considered the action mitzvahs, because you don't do it with your hands and feet. You're not acting. What you're doing is you're meditating, contemplating, thinking, perhaps even moving your lips, which is a small form of it's a little bit involvement of your body, but primarily it's a soul it's something of the soul. When you lay tefillin, when you shake a lulav, when you walk to shul, when you give charity, when you, whatever else you do, the action mitzvahs involve the entirety of your body. It is those mitzvahs that the Alter Rebbe says accomplish much more, are the ultimate purpose. What is the ultimate purpose? So the Alter Rebbe quoted in chapter 36 the famous medrash that God wanted in creating the entire purpose of the creation of the world was to make for himself a dwelling place in this lowly earth, in this lowly realm. So the Alter Rebbe is going to go on. It's already began in chapter 36, and now in chapter 37 he's going to explain even more how it is that it's mainly through the action mitzvahs that this is accomplished. Now, and he's going to explain in chapter 37 at great length that it is these mitzvahs that will ultimately bring the Mashiach. The coming of the Mashiach will be accomplished primarily through the mitzvahs of action. Now, why is that? So for this, I'd like to give a basic introduction to this chapter, and then we'll get into the body of the chapter itself. Those of you who have been with us from the beginning of Tanya will know by now that God created in this world three realms. There are three realms in this world. The realm of holiness. What's holiness? Give me an example of something holy.
Torah.
A Torah. A mitzvah. When a Yid is engaged in a mitzvah, that's holy. A Torah scroll is holy. A Torah book is holy. These are holy things. What defines holiness? What is the definition of holiness? That holy is something where God's presence is revealed. God is present everywhere. There could be nothing without God. There could be no existence if it wasn't for God giving it and animating it and giving it its existence. However, the holy realm is that which receives the godly energy, so to say, and that energy is not concealed in any concealment. It's not covered. Right? Then there's a realm called Klippa. Klippa is the shell reality. Shell meaning like a peel. Let's take an example of Klippa. And within Klippa, there's going to be two realms of Klippa. But let's talk about the first realm of Klippa, most of the world. Most of the physical world belongs to the realm of klipa. What is klipa? So here it goes. Let's take an example. The car in that parking lot. That's a piece, it's metal, different things that put together this automobile. Every aspect of that car can only exist because God created it, and creates and continues to create it, continues to give it existence. That means that there is an energy of godliness, of godly creative energy that is in that car, that makes it exist, that gives it its existence. Do you see that godly energy? You don't see the godly energy. Why don't you see the godly energy? If it's there, why don't you see it? Why don't you see it if it's there? The answer is very simple. Because the God clothed or cloaked his own reality in coverings, in klipa, in shells and peels. The physical reality is covering and concealing the reality, that truth, that spark of God that's in that. And most of this physical world is in that realm called klipa. In other words, that realm is not holy. Because there, God is not revealed. God is concealed. But he's there, he's present, but he's completely concealed. Now, how bad is the concealment in a car? Complete, right? It's complete concealment. The question is, could you uncover it? Could you reveal that spark of godliness in that automobile? You could. How? When you use the car for a godly purpose. Then you begin to uncover and reveal the purpose for that car and the reality of that car, which is it's there only for one reason, to serve God. And when you do that, you serve, when you use it for godly purposes, you take the spark of God that's in that car and you begin to shed the peel, remove the concealment. And God becomes revealed there. Wait a second. So you're taking it out of the realm of klipa, of the shell reality, we'll call the klipa the shell reality, and you remove it into the realm of kedusha, of holiness. Because now God becomes revealed over there. Okay, you understand what's happening? You understand the process? But then there's a third realm, called the three completely unholy klipas. The first level of klipa that we just described is called in the Zohar, in the Kabbalah, klipas noiga. A klipa that can shine, that can glow, that can shine. It's right now, it's concealed, but it has the potential for godliness to shine through it, because you can uncover the godliness. But then there is a certain reality realm in this world where you cannot reveal godliness in it. It's so bad, the concealment is so strong, where God cannot become revealed there. An example, sinful. Everything that's sinful.
Killing or
sinful. Anything that's sinful. For example, let's take another example of the glowing klipa, the middle realm. Yeah, you just here this cup of coffee. Is this godliness revealed here? No, it's concealed. So this is the shell reality. You don't see the godliness in that coffee. But if I make a bracha on it, which I did, and I drink it in order to help me teach Tanya and to give me some strength to serve God better, that's when you start shedding the peel. You remove the peel, right? Correct or not?
Yeah.
Very good.
Rabbi.
One second. Let me finish this. But what happens, for example, if I decide, instead of drinking coffee to give me strength to teach Tanya, I'm going to eat a ham sandwich to give me strength to teach Tanya. No, really, I'm serious. Is that a possibility?
No.
Why not? Well, I could eat this ham sandwich and I'll get strength, but does that work?
No.
Why not? Why not?
It's not.
Kosher.
It's still
It's not
clip.
kosher. It's unholy.
It's unable to take the clip out.
The answer is you're right. You cannot do that. Why? Because no matter how much you're going to take in the ham sandwich, no matter how much strength you're going to get from it to teach and to learn Torah, as a result, that spark of godliness that is in that ham sandwich is so covered and so concealed and so uh, clothed. It's the covering is so thick that you cannot reveal and uncover that spark through direct engagement. Direct engagement, I mean, by you taking it and eating it and utilizing it for godly purposes. That can never be released. That spark that's of godliness that is enclosed and, so to say, locked in that physical reality cannot be redeemed, cannot be elevated through direct engagement. How do you elevate that spark? There can't be a part of God that shouldn't be able to be elevated. That spark also needs to be elevated, but through a different method. Through a different method. But not through your engagement. So you can't do that. Why? Because that's in the three totally unclean klippas. That can never be redeemed through your direct engagement. But this coffee, which is not from the three unclean klippas, it's from the general klippa. It's not tied to, this can be redeemed and released. Engage it. Make a bracha on it. Utilize it for godly purpose, and you will have transferred it into the realm of holiness. The three unclean klippas cannot be transferred into the realm of holiness. So those are the three categories within our physical reality. What's the ultimate purpose of the creation of the world? So he quoted this in the Medrash, I said it before. He wants to have a dwelling place in this world. How does he have a dwelling place in this world? So there's 2 points I want to make about this. The dwelling place in this world. First of all, a dwelling place for who? For God. Okay. But when you say a dwelling, that brings up an important point. There's and I said this a few times already, there's a very big difference between your dwelling and your place of business, your place of work, your workplace. What's the difference? When you go out to work in the morning, it's the way it used to be. Maybe today it's a little different. When you go out to work in the morning, you go like a professional. You put on a suit, you put on a shirt, you put on a tie, you look, you present yourself in a certain way, A doctor's going to put on his white coat. A lawyer will have a suit and a tie. A judge will have his judge attire. And everyone has their thing. What are you when you come back home? What attire do you wear when you're in your own home? You take it all off. You take it off. Yeah. You're just, you're more yourself. Much more of you is revealed in your home. In your office, you conceal much. In your place of work, you're projecting not the essence of yourself, a certain external talent, a certain external part of you, but not you, not the very you. In your house, it's the very you, and that's why you remove those concealments. You remove those concealments, right? So when you say God wants a dwelling place for himself here, dwelling means where his essence is going to be revealed. When you say the essence is going to be revealed, it means without any concealments. That means when you look at that car, you're going to see the godly spark. You're not going to see the metal. You'll see the actual godliness in that car. That's not the reality yet. When will that be? That when you look at you look at this world, you see the godliness in it. The essence will be revealed, right? That's what a dwelling means, where his truest self is revealed. There's no more concealment. In your own home, there's no concealment. So God, in his home, which he wants down here in this physical world, he wants it where there's no concealments. That means when you look at this table, when you look at this camera, you look at this phone, you look at that shirt, you look at that car, you're not going to see what you see now. Now I see a black camera, I see a blue shirt, I see different things, I see the physical manifestation of those things. When Mashiach comes and there will be the dwelling will happen for real, everything will express its truest godly reality. You'll see God. You'll see the godliness within everything. Is that the reality we live in right now? No. When we look at things now, we still see wood, we see coffee, we see different things. We don't see the godliness in this coffee. Your question is now, go ahead.
My question is, trying to going over this clip. This is the teshuva. This is the act of teshuva.
What, to remove?
To remove the klipa.
It could also be the act of tshuva, but it's much more than that. Even if you never sinned, that's what our job is, to uncover the godliness in everything. Even if you never sinned, even a tzaddik does this. When he eats breakfast, that's what he's doing, even though he's not doing tshuva. But in a way, you could say that that's tshuva as well, yeah. Because you're returning everything to its ultimate real state of truth, which is that God is in control of everything. God is everything. So when you eat something and you reveal that truth, you did tshuva. You return. What does tshuva mean? Return. You return this cup of coffee to its source, which is God. Till now, it looked like it's a separate thing. You united it with God, so you returned it to its ultimate place. That's real tshuva.
You said that there's klipas noga is
The neutral klipa.
the neutral.
Yeah.
And the other names for the other two, you mentioned there were three.
What is holy?
So how would you call it?
Kedusha.
Kedusha.
Kedusha. Klipa and the klipot hatmeot, the unholy klipas, which can never be redeemed
Which
through
would be like
active
a ham
engagement.
sandwich.
What? Yeah, a ham
Yeah.
sandwich. Anything that's sinful.
Yeah.
Any sinful behavior.
Yeah, but you said that if you do teshuva, you can come back from that.
Yeah, that's true too.
But there are some things that will never be able to be holy.
You're talking about a type of tshuva that can redeem even that. A Yid, for example, ate a ham sandwich. And he does tshuva. But that, in order to redeem the spark within that ham sandwich, to turn it into a value, into a positive energy, for that you need to have a very, very special level of tshuva that most of us never really reach.
Yeah.
So don't try it. Stay away from the ham sandwich and don't bring don't bring upon yourself big problems. You'll have to do tshuva in a way that you really almost is a very difficult tshuva. We learned in chapter 7. Those of you who were here back then, last decade, right?
Okay.
Let's go in. Let's see it now inside. Oh, so before we go back inside, let me just summarize this or conclude this thought. So what is our job now before Mashiach comes? What is the ultimate purpose? Why do we exist? Why are we here? What does God want from us? He wants us to bring this about. He wants the days of Mashiach to happen. He wants the time when his dwelling will be real. He'll be able to be here for real. How do we accomplish this? And who accomplishes this? Is that just something that's going to happen one day by itself, or we have to engage in making this happen? The answer is we have to make this happen. And that's why God gave the Torah, and that's why we're here for the last few thousand years, to make this happen. How does this happen? If by definition, what's the purpose? What's the ultimate purpose? He wants the whole physical world to reveal him, to no longer conceal him, not to remove it from the shell reality into the realm where he is revealed wholly. How does this happen? It happens by you and me and all of us getting him, taking the physical world and elevating it and utilizing it for a godly purpose. Slowly but surely, more and more of this physical world is transformed. So although we don't see it with our eyes yet, that will happen when Mashiach comes. When we'll finish this job, it'll become revealed. But every time we do a mitzvah, we're taking another part of this physical world and driving godliness into it. And uniting it and bringing God into that physical thing. When I say bringing God into that physical thing, he's already there. But you're uncovering it. You're removing the shell. The more you do that, more of the world becomes involved, becomes reveals its godliness, to the point where ultimately the whole world will have been transformed or elevated, and then Mashiach is here, and then it's revealed. So what are we doing now? We're bringing that about. Every mitzvah you do brings that ultimate goal, completes that ultimate goal. You took another element of this physical world and elevated it and put it into the realm of godliness. Are there still areas of this physical world that have not been elevated? Not, of course there are, because otherwise Mashiach would be here. So what do we have to do about it? Get those things and elevate them. So with every mitzvah that you do, you're making it happen.
What happens when people don't even believe in God, or Christians and Islamics don't want to think of their our God, their God might be different? What happens with this, with the people?
I think your question is more a general one. Could we really ever manage 15 million Jews, really take every single aspect of this physical world and transform it and make it godly? There are places that Jews never even got to. Even just in this planet Earth, there's places we were never there.
You can't get there either.
Well, no, so how is this ever supposed to happen? Yeah, that's your question. Whether it's people of other religions or it's physical matter that we never got a hold of, how are we doing this? The answer is going to be in chapter 37. It's going to be in this chapter.
Okay.
Let's start, right? Okay. Chapter 37. This culminating fulfillment of the Messianic era, of the resurrection of the dead, which is, what's the culminating fulfillment? The revelation of the light of the blessed Ein Sof, the infinite God, in this material world. That's what he ultimately wants. Where his light of the blessed Ein Sof, the infinite God, will be revealed in this material world. Depends, how does that happen? This depends on our actions and service throughout the duration of the Galut, the exile. Now, of this period of time. For what causes the reward of a commandment is the commandment itself. This is very interesting. What is the commandment? We say the schar mitzvah, mitzvah. The reward of a commandment is the commandment itself, right? What does that mean? When you tell your kid, you learn well in school, you get good grades, what are you going to do for him or her? You'll give them rewards. What reward will you give them? Whatever you think up of something. I'll take you to Disneyland, I'll buy you a car, whatever it is that you promised them, right? Does the reward have any relationship with what she has done?
No.
She got good rewards. What's the connection between, good grades? What's the connection between getting good grades and Disney World? There is none. It's just that you're telling her and him, if you do this, you'll get that. What he's saying over here is God did not tell us that. That's not the type of reward we're getting. God doesn't tell us, you do mitzvahs and I'll give you Disney World. Or some spiritual world, some great guy. By the mitzvah itself, the reward that we're going to get is a direct outcome of the mitzvah that we do. They're related to each other. Because what is the reward? We're waiting for the reward. What's the great reward in the future times? The coming of Mashiach. What's the reward? The revelation of godliness. We're going to become one with Hashem. How is that happening? How does that happen? What does that mean, the revelation of God? That you're going to look at this book and you see godliness. You're going to look at the table and see the godly spot. There will be oneness in the world. The whole world will be one with Hashem. And that's going to be a good feeling. It's going to be a great reward. How does that come about? We just got through saying it. How does that come about?
By doing mitzvah.
Through the mitzvah itself. That's what doing a mitzvah does. It takes a physical thing, a piece of leather, for example, the tefillin, and you're taking a piece of leather and you're elevating it and making it part of God. You're uniting it with Hashem. That is the mitzvah, and that brings about the reward. The very mitzvah itself brings about that reward.
But it also rises the Kedusha spirit of us inside us.
Yes, it does.
Also,
You'll see that in this chapter
reward.
too. He's going to talk about not only the physical mitzvah that you're doing, not the material items that you do the mitzvah with, but at the same time you're elevating your soul and your animalistic soul and your body. because your body is engaged in this mitzvah. So you're drawing godliness into your physical reality as well. And by the way, that's why the action mitzvahs are the most important ones, because where do you draw godliness into your body and animal soul? In the action mitzvahs, because that's where your body and animal soul are engaged. When you're meditating on Torah, it's more your soul is engaged in that, not so much your body. Any questions? All right, let's go. For what causes the reward of a commandment is the commandment itself. Why? He explains. Because by virtue of performing it, when you perform the mitzvah, the person suffuses a flood of light of the blessed Ein Sof, the infinite God, from above downward, to be clothed in the corporeal reality of the world. What is a mitzvah? You do a mitzvah, you take, like I said, a piece of leather, and you're drawing into that piece of leather from above, downward, so that God should be clothed in the corporeality of the world, in that piece of leather, in something that was previously under the dominion of Klipas Nega, right? Before that leather was under which dominion? A cow walking and grazing in a farm. Under what realm of reality is that? Kedusha, Klippa, or the unclean Klippas? Klippa, the neutral Klippa, right? It was under Klippas Neiga, that neutral Klippa, from which it had received its vitality, right? Where was that cow getting its vitality till you got a hold of it and turned it into tefillin? It was receiving its vitality from that realm called Klippa. What happened once you turned it into a piece, a tefillin box, and now you put it on? You took it away from the realm of Klippa and you drew real godliness into it, open godliness, revealed godliness. That's the mitzvah. That's what you did when you put on tefillin. What's the reward for that? That is the reward. That one day you'll see what you accomplished. Right now you're accomplishing it. One day when Mashiach comes, you'll actually see what you accomplished. That's the reward. So the mitzvah itself is its own reward. It's just that now you don't see it, then you'll see it. And that's going to be the great feeling. That's going to be the great pleasure, to see this in reality. These are all those things. What's Klipas Negas? He gives a definition for Klipas Negas. These are all those things that are ritually clean and permissible, wherewith the precept of action is performed. For example, parchment used for phylacteries, for tefillin, and mezuzah, and the scroll of the Torah, it's also all made out of what? Skin, animal skin. That's the parchment. As taught by the rabbis, that nothing is fitting for a sacred purpose which is not clean and permissible for consumption. You can only make tefillin and Torah and all those things out of kosher animals. Yeah. You can't make it out of pigskin, guys. No. So I'm saying, you can't make it out of horse skin. You can't make it out of... It has to be something kosher, because you need... What you try and accomplish is to transfer it from the klipas neiga into the realm of holiness. And that, by definition, is something that's permissible. It's not holy yet, but you can make it holy. Similarly, an esrig, which is not orla. An esrig is what we use on the holiday of Sukkot, right? So there are certain esrigs that you're not allowed to use. What esrig are you not allowed to use? In the first 3 years of its growth. It's called orla.
Doesn't have a tip on it.
No, that means it's disqualified, but to begin with, it was permissible. Okay. But on a tree that's in its first 3 years of growth, you're not allowed to use that esrig at all. It's treif, so to say. It's a mitzvah in the Torah. Now it's one of the two commandments that in the first 3 years of a tree, you're not allowed to use its fruits. So imagine someone will say, I want to use for the mitzvah of esrig from that tree. Can't do it. So all the esrigs that we have are after 3 years of growth. But if you use an esrig that's grew after the 3 years, it's kosher esrig. As it's hanging on the tree, it's nothing. It's just klipa. It's not holy yet. But you pick it off the tree and you bring it into your mitzvah of the esrig. You make a bracha, and now you made it. And now it became a mitzvah. So you took it from the realm of till now was receiving its life force From where? From Klipas Nega.
Okay.
You brought it into, it's on Sukkot, you bought it and you paid money, and you make it into a mitzvah. Now you transferred it from that realm, and now it's receiving it. You drew godliness, holy, pure, Ein Sof holiness, infinite love, infinite godliness into that esrog. When you make the bracha and you turned it into a mitzvah. Skip the note. So too, money. He gives an example of something that is inanimate. So he gives 3 examples of it. The first one he gave from animals. The second one he gave from something that grows on trees, like the vegetation. And now he's giving another example, something inanimate. That's also from Klipas Nega, which is money. The money you make, you give it to charity, which had not been dishonestly acquired. Of course, if the money was acquired through theft or whatever, of course you can't give that money to charity. That's like eating a ham sandwich to get strength to learn Torah. That doesn't work. You can't redeem that godliness hidden in that money. You can't do it. But if it was earned honestly, and then you give it to charity, you took it from the realm of Klippa and you put it into the realm of Kedusha. And similarly with other things. Thus, when a person performs a divine commandment and will, by means of these, by means of these clean things, I mean clean that they're not prohibited. By means of these clean things, the vitality that is in them ascends, the vitality that's in them already. What's in them? Godliness. But it was concealed in the shell reality, in the klipa. So you take that vitality that's in them and it ascends and is dissolved and absorbed into the light of the blessed, infinite God. Blessed Ein Sof, which is His blessed will that is clothed in them. That was His will that you should take that esrog and give that money to charity and make that leather into tefillin. That was His will. He and His will are all one. So you now united, elevated that spark of godliness that was there before, concealed in the klippa, and you elevated it into the Ein Sof. Since therein there is no concealment of countenance whatsoever to obscure His blessed light. In a mitzvah, that's the difference between Kedusha and Klippa. What's the difference, the basic difference between holiness and unholiness, the neutral Klippa, the shell reality? The shell reality, there's godliness. Nothing can exist other than the spark of godliness that's in it, giving it its existence and life. The difference is that in Klippa, it's covered with a shell, a peel. In Kedusha, it's not covered. It's revealed. Correct? Mm-hmm. So a mitzvah is where God is revealed. So when you take a thing from the realm of Klippa and you bring it into Kedusha, so you took that life force that's in these items and these physical things, and you elevated them, and they became subsumed or bottled, nullified, or one with the godliness that's in them. There's no more concealment. The difference is that you may ask, why don't we see it now? That's you don't see it, but the reality is that is the reality of holiness. That godliness is there and united with it, and when Mashiach comes, it will be open to our eyes as well.
Why do we need a Mashiach when God can do it Himself?
Why do we need? What do you mean? What's your question? Why do we need the era of Mashiach, or why do we need the person Mashiach?
Both. I mean, why?
What do you mean God can do it Himself? He doesn't want to do it Himself. He wants you and me to do it.
I understand that, but then when that time comes, why doesn't He reveal His essence without Mashiach? You don't need Mashiach.
So you're saying we don't need a human being for that?
Exactly.
Why does He need Moshe Rabbeinu to give us a Torah, and He can't give it to us Himself?
And how do you know that the Messiah?
Whatever.
that the
That's the
Messiah
system. That's
is
what
a
Hashem
person?
wants. He wants a person
I mean-
down here that represents him, through which he communicates. What?
How we can know that the Messiah is a person?
Because it says in
It
the
says
Torah
it's
that
gonna
it's
be a
Real
person.
thing.
It's a person?
Sure,
Yeah,
of
yes,
course.
it's going to be an average person.
It's
Yeah.
going to be us. This,
Tzaddik, probably, I guess.
yeah, obviously. The Mashiach is a human being, of course.
Yeah.
He's going to usher in that era. But when he talks about, in chapter 37, when he talks about Mashiach, he's talking about the era of Mashiach, not the person Mashiach.
Yeah.
This will be ushered in through this person. But it's the era of the Mashiach that he's talking about over here, where what you have accomplished throughout the years of before Mashiach will then be revealed and seen by our own eyes. But when are we actually doing the job? Now. We're uncovering the godliness right now in everything. Then it will be revealed. In other words, to understand this better, I would divide it into three categories. There are things that right now they conceal the godliness in them. It's inherent concealment. Klippa is inherent concealment. Like I said, anything that is neutral out there that man has not yet come in contact with. You see, that's what happens. The moment man comes in contact with it, it either goes down and becomes unholy, or it goes up and becomes holy. It's no longer neutral. It's only neutral till you get a hold of it. Till man comes in contact with it. Because then you make a choice how to use it. Like that car in the parking lot. The question is going to become, how are you using this car now? For your selfish needs, you dragged it down. For God's needs, you dragged it up, pulled it up. You either brought it into the realm of holiness, or you brought it into the realm of unholiness. It's no longer neutral. It's only neutral till mankind comes in contact with it. So before mankind comes in contact with it, there are two types of klippa. Let me just summarize this again. There's the klippa that no matter what you do, you can't redeem it. A ham sandwich, theft, and things of that nature. Then there's inherent concealment where you could redeem it. Klippas nega, the neutral klippa, like things that are not sinful. A cow that can become tefillin, a car that can be used to take you to shul, and so on and so forth. Then you transfer, you uncover the holiness. So it's no longer inherently concealed. Godliness over there is no longer inherently concealed. In fact, on the contrary, it's now revealed. But there's a problem. We have a problem. Our eyes do not see that revelation. Our eyes do not see the revelation. In other words, that car now is revealed holiness. The concealment has been removed. The problem is, on our eyes is a curtain. We can't see it. When Mashiach will come, the curtain will be lifted off our eyes. And we will see reality for what it is. What's reality? Everything that was, the whole world will... In other words, till Mashiach, it's our job to uncover all the holiness within the world. Unite everything with the Ein Sof. How do we do it? Through exactly that, taking and utilizing things for its godly purpose. When we do that, we remove the concealment from that car, from this coffee, from this whatever. The problem is upon our eyes there's still a concealment, so we can't see what's now being revealed. So those are the three categories. That before we reveal it, it's inherently concealed. After we do a mitzvah with it, it's not concealed anymore, it's revealed. But there's still something on our eyes, we can't see it. When Mashiach will come, we will see the reward for our mitzvahs. We will see what we have accomplished. And we will enjoy it immensely. You follow? Let's go further. In like manner, you see where we are on page 169, the left column, third paragraph, or the second, whatever you want. Now he's going to move on to say, okay, so we spoke about the physical items, the leather, the money, the esrog, the fruit, what about the human being who's doing all this? Where is he in this? Is he being transformed and connected to the Ein Sof, to the infinite? Is he becoming, transformed from klipa into holiness? Look what he says. Like manner, the energy of the vital animal soul. Before we learn this, let me give you an introduction. I know you know this already, but still, it's time to refresh it. Very refreshing. The human being is made up of three entities. The Jew. Let's talk about us Jews. There's the physical body, and in this physical body there are two souls. The one soul is what makes our body live. That's the human soul. That differentiates us from a dead person. Is that we have a human soul animating our body, making it alive, whereas the dead person no longer has a human soul. In other words, departed. It's departed from it, so it's a lump of flesh, lifeless. But then we also have a second soul, which is the neshama, the godly soul. Now, the godly soul is invested in the body. God puts it in the body. But the godly soul and the body are so far apart. One is pure godliness, and the body is pure physical matter. It's the what's the word I'm looking for? The gulf between them is vast, is massive, is infinite. How could you unite pure godliness and pure corporeality, which is the lifeless body? So it needs an intermediary. What's the intermediary? How does the neshama function in the physical body? Via the human soul, which is a little bit of both. Not a little bit of both, it's also a kind of like a spiritual force within us, but it comes from klipa. The human soul comes from klipa. Because what's the definition of the human soul? To what is it driven? What's the drive of the human soul? Self-interest, exactly. Self-preservation. A bigger house, What's the drive of the godly soul? Oh, so one second before the godly soul. So the human soul is part of klipa. Klipa is part of that shell reality. It conceals. It's not revealing its true essence, which is God. It's self-interest. It's self-motivated. It's self-centered. In that sense, it's a shell. It covers. It conceals godliness. It's not here to promote God's interests. It's here to promote its own interest. The human soul, and of course the body as well. And that's the battle between the human soul and the body, and the neshama, which is here to pull both of them towards God. So that a tug of war. One is pulling towards self-centered interests, and the neshama is trying to pull the body and the godly soul towards God's interest. So how does a neshama do a mitzvah? A neshama can't do a mitzvah if it doesn't enclose itself first in the human soul and in the body. So it's via the human soul that it's able to do a mitzvah. The neshama needs the human soul in order to do the mitzvahs, right? Because what makes the hand move to wrap the tefillin? The human soul. The human soul is what gives that hand the power to move. What makes it alive? How are you able to light Shabbos candles? To strike a match and to light the candle and do all that? Through the human soul. So the neshama has to enclose itself in the human soul. So those are the three entities of the Jew. Now, when you do a mitzvah, let's say you're putting on tefillin. So you're elevating the leather. We talked about the leather before, right? The cow has now become elevated into tefillin. Very nice. It's a wonderful thing. God wants that. We reveal God in the cow. Do you ever reveal God in the human, in yourself?
You must.
When you do those mitzvahs, what's now engaged in the performance of that mitzvah?
Your body.
Your body, your human soul, everything is engaged in that mitzvah. Right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Your feet walk to shul to put on the tefillin. Your hands are wrapping the tefillin. Your entirety is now involved in that mitzvah. So that is also now becoming elevated. Look what he says. In like manner, the energy of the vital animal soul, which is the animal soul, he means over here the human soul. The animal within us, that is. The animal soul, which is in the organs of the body of the person performing the commandment, is also clothed in this performance. That animal soul isn't clothed in the performance of putting on tefillin and giving charity and whatever other mitzvah you're doing. And it too rises from the klipa, because I said before, its realm is klipa first, right? Before it comes in contact with the holy and with the mitzvah. So it's transferred, rises from the realm of klipa, from klipa, and is absorbed into the holiness of the mitzvah, of the precept, which is his blessed will, and is dissolved into the light of the blessed Ein Sof. That God, that human energy, is now dissolved and one with Hashem. Just like the leather is now dissolved and one with Hashem.
May I complicate the question?
You can ask.
What about the intention? I mean, people has different intentions.
Very good question. Come back for chapter 38. No, I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. It's there. He's going to talk about all that. But right now he's talking about the mitzvah itself. Even if you don't really have the deep intention.
So, Rabbi, once you make the article or the tefillin, whatever you want to say, holy, does it remain holy, or you have to keep making it holy?
It remains
again?
holy. Because you now, it depends what mitzvah. For example, if you used an esrog there's differences. Because in the tefillin you already have words of holiness in the tefillin.
Right.
There's the portions that have God's name in it, so that's a Torah. Torah is holy on its own.
And also the mission of the tefillin is holy in itself. I mean, it's
That's what I'm saying. The tefillin have holiness in it because it has written on it portions of the Torah.
Let's say the coffee. If you made a blessing on it, so that became holy, but it doesn't stay holy.
Well, once I drank it with a good purpose, that's it. That became holy. Yeah. Now it's an interesting thing you bring up, because why does this become holy? Because I'm utilizing it for to give me strength to teach Torah. Let's say, what happens if after 10:30 I go now and do a sin with the same strength that I got from this coffee? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the coffee gave me let's say 3 hour power, an energy booster for 3 hours. Yeah, 1 hour I taught Torah with the energy from that coffee. But the next 2 hours I'm sitting and gossiping, let's say, or who knows what, watching a selfish movie or whatever it is, or doing even worse, sinful behavior. Oh, gossip is sinful.
Robbing a bank.
Robbing a bank, God
I
forbid.
expect you ever to rob a bank.
Right, no. But I'm saying in theory.
Yeah.
In theory. Yeah, you can then, this can go, right now the energy is being elevated, 10 minutes later it can be dragged down, yes.
So
This
it's
is
just
a
like
constant struggle.
So the car that you're driving to shul becomes holy. But if you're going to go shopping, it's not
Well,
holy
going
anymore.
shopping for what purpose?
No, but just to get,
If you're going to
just buy clothes.
well, that's still neutral. That doesn't drag it down. But you can be buying clothing for good purposes too. But if you're doing it for a non-good purpose, yeah, it's taking you to somewhere to rob a bank, yeah. We're giving over extreme examples.
Yeah.
We don't have to go to such extremes. If it's taking you to do something that is only for your self-interest. It's taking you to the movie theater because right now you're in the mood of watching a movie. There's no godly purpose and it's all selfish.
Right.
It's not harmful, but it's selfish. So again, the same thing. So we're here to elevate constantly all that.
Constantly, that's the word.
But does it take you back to the beginning, or
No,
it
it
takes
doesn't
you,
take you back to the beginning.
goes a little lower?
Every minute is independent.
Yeah.
Every minute is independent.
And Rabbi, and sometimes
Because you're
let's
forgetting. That car or this coffee, whatever it may be, is receiving godly energy every second, anew.
Yeah.
So that godly energy that is receiving at 10:20 in the morning needs to be elevated to godliness. The fact that you elevated the godly force within it that was invested in it at 10:15 doesn't mean that that godly
It goes
energy
back to
that
that
is
level,
going to be now invested a half hour later is a new energy. That needs to be elevated to God. Now again, so you have that moment to decide. Are you going to bring it down or are you going to bring it up?
Rabbi, most of the times I think people struggling about decision. I would love to eat a ham sandwich, but I know that it's not good. So I have to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an internal fight between you. Well, I would like to take
Right,
it, but
yeah.
it doesn't have.
It's not good.
It's not good.
Right.
I mean,
That happens all day long.
exactly. So
That's good.
Yeah.
how
struggle
we
with
can
life.
say this? It's bring energy or it's bring holiness to us if we make the right decision.
Yeah, that is the ultimate experience, godly experiences, when you make the right decision. Freedom of choice is the greatest thing we ever had. So that's what he's talking about over here. Till now, we talked about the things that we make the choices with: the cow, the skin, the money, the esrig. Now he's talking about your choice, your energy, you yourself, the person himself that's doing this. What's happening with him? And that's what he's in. Like manner, the energy of the vital animal soul, which is in the organs of the body of the person performing the commandments, is also clothed in this performance. Then that energy is enclosed in the mitzvah, and it rises from the klipa, and is absorbed into the holiness of the precept of the mitzvah, which is his blessed will, and is dissolved into it into the light of the blessed infinite God. Likewise, in regard to the commandment of Torah study and the recital of Shema and prayer. See, now he's making a distinction within mitzvahs itself. And I said this at the early beginning of the chapter. There are different types of mitzvahs. There are mitzvahs that involve our entire body, like the ones that he discussed till now. But then there are mitzvahs that involve only our mind, mainly our mind, and perhaps the movement of our lips. For example, learning Torah and prayer, recital of the Shema, and similar precepts. Although they do not involve physical action in the strict sense, right? It's only involving the more internal aspects of your energy, of your soul, and so on and so forth, right? Such as would be dominated by the klipas nega. In other words, what he's saying over here is, we spoke about the body and the human soul, which are under the dominion of the klipas nega, right? Of the klipa. Is your mind under the klipas nega as well?
Yeah.
Much less. Much less. In other words, we have three faculties. We have three soul powers. Three garments, as he called it. Thought, speech, and action. Right?
Mm-hmm.
When we talk about the human soul and the body, and that it is under the dominion of the God of the klipa, right?
Mm-hmm.
The human body is self-centered.
That's my phone?
What is-
Oh my God. I don't know what happened. Go on.
Oh, what was the book?
I was touching. Why did it? I didn't touch it.
You caught it.
Let's put see what he's saying about the physical part of our body is under the dominion of the God of klipa, right? What's more physical, our thought or our action?
Action.
Our action is more physical. So he's saying when you do a mitzvah, like giving charity, or putting on tefillin, or lighting Shabbos candles, or whatever it may be, the action part of the very physical part of your existence, of your body, the action, the action faculty of your animal soul. Those are the very physical parts of you. They are now taken out of the realm of klipa, which is mainly where they what klipa is. In other words, klipa has control of the physical. What's under the dominion of klipa? The physical world. What part of us is what part of the human experience is more physical? It's body, and it's action, the ability to act.
To do, yeah.
Correct? What about the more refined faculty of thought? It's much less physical. And therefore one would think they're much less involved under the dominion of klipa. So when you think Torah, and you think prayer, you're meditating in prayer, how much of the klipa are you really elevating? Much less, right? When you're involved in an action mitzvah, your hands and feet are engaged. Your hands are physical. This is the very physical body that's doing a mitzvah. When you're meditating on that godly concept, what part of your physical reality is involved in that?
Okay,
The very refined aspects of your thought process. It's more soulful. It's not so much physical. So what he's saying, and let's finish it, and then you'll ask.
Yeah.
Likewise, he's saying, in regard to the commandment of Torah study and the recital of Shema and prayer, and similar precepts that involve thought, and even in speech, although they do not involve physical action in the strict sense, such as would be dominated by klipas nega, nevertheless, he says, in other words, what's dominated by klipas nega is more the action, the physical. This is less of that. Nevertheless, he says, it has been established that meditation cannot take place of speech. When we say you have to daven, people make this mistake all the time, by the way. It's an important point. People come to shul, they take out a siddur and they pray. What do you look at them, what you're seeing them do is with their eyes they're praying. They're looking at the words, but they're not really verbalizing it with their mouth. Right? A lot of people pray that way. They don't actually say the words. They read the words with their mind, with their eyes. It's not the proper of prayer. That's not the way to pray. The rabbis have established that meditation alone is not enough for prayer. You have to actually move your lips. You have to say the words, verbalize the words. Look what he said. Nevertheless, it has been established that meditation cannot take the place of speech, and that a person does not fulfill the commandment until he has uttered the words with his lips.
That was my answer.
And it has been established that the articulation by the lips is deemed an action. Oh,
See, that's what
when
that
he's
was my
saying like
answer.
this, there's a mitzvah in the Torah to read the Shema every morning, right, and every evening. You have to say the Shema every day, twice. In the morning, when you lie down and when you rise. Okay, that's a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah, one of the 613 commandments. How do you say the Shema? You have to actually verbalize it with your lips. Thinking the Shema is not enough. Reading it with your eyes doesn't do the job. And it has also been established that moving of the lips is also action. It's a physical engagement. It's a physical thing that you're doing. Your lips are physical, and the movement or the articulation of those lips is a physical action. So therefore, even when you're davening and learning, which is less involved, there's not so much action involved, there is some action involved. Your lips are moving, and therefore, part of the klipas nega is being elevated to kedusha, to the holiness.
But you do it by not talking loud.
You don't have to talk loud. You can do it low, but you're talking.
But you're
Yeah.
talking.
But you're actually
Like a
verbalizing.
You're supposed to.
Whisper.
It is part also of the physical world, the covering of the eye.
That's also true, but that's not a biblical thing. There's no mitzvah to cover your eyes. It's a minig, it's a custom. But the mitzvah itself is, but you're right, even when you do that Hashem wants you to cover your eyes, so your hands are engaged too. It's a good point, yeah.
Then there's the other end of this, Robert, when people may read and verbalize, but you're not engaged either mentally or with your heart.
True, that's also, so you're lacking.
Yeah.
So that, it lacks the kavanah, meaning the intention, the proper intent. You have to engage your mind, of course.
He has to come next week for the 38 chapters.
You have to engage your mind. There's no doubt about that.
38.
You have to know what you're saying, otherwise you're just
Yeah.
what they call lip service, right? But it is lip service. It's a service of the lips. Really, that's what it is. I mean, so when you're saying holy words without thinking what you're saying, is that a value? There's some value to that, yeah. Because even though you don't think, you're physically not thinking, your mind is not engaged, but your neshama is. Your soul is. But it's not enough. There's no question. You have to have kavanah. It's the proper way to daven is to think what you're saying. And then he continues, so finish up. And it has been established, the third line on the right column. For the divine soul cannot express itself through the lips and mouth and tongue and teeth, which are all corporeal, except through the agency of the vital animal soul, the human soul, which is clothed in the organs of the physical body. Again, so there you have where even in Torah and davening, you're engaging the human soul and the body, at least in some form. The human body is the lips, fine, so at least that part. So you're elevating your body, even when you're learning Torah and davening, you're elevating the body. And the human soul that's enclosed in the body, that gives it life. Hence, the more strength one puts into his speech, it's very interesting what he's going to say there. The more strength you put into your speech, the more of the vital soul's energy does he introduce and invest into those words. So when you're speaking low, he's going like this, Shema Yisrael Hashem. But then you say, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Where was more of your vital soul involved?
In the loud.
In the loud. Because when you say it loud, there's a lot of energy invested in that voice, in that expression, and so on. So the louder you speak, and the more you put into that speech, the more of your vital energy is being elevated into the realm of holiness, into the mitzvah, which is godliness.
But then you're not allowing
So
somebody
you're
else to
disturbing
concentrate.
someone else. So you shouldn't do it. When you're around
That's
other
why I
people,
say
you have to mitigate it. There's no doubt. Yeah, there's halacha. There are laws with this. You can't just scream in a shul and
Right.
disregard everyone else.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Right.
Yeah.
Michael does it.
Who?
Mike, he plays a little too loud.
No one prays too loudly.
Well, sometimes
Don't
I can't
go
concentrate.
back
Which
to
one?
the-
Who are you
The guy
talking
who came last week with another guy who's got a very deep voice.
Yeah,
He's like
yeah,
a cantor.
yeah.
He plays really loud.
No, but Michael does play loud. I mean, you said it over here, but here sometimes I can't play. It's hard.
Yeah, that's why I was saying.
But that's why those laws are in place. So you have to,
You balance it.
yeah. Hence, the more strength one puts into his speech, the more of the vital soul's energy does he introduce and invest into those words. This is the meaning of the verse. All my bones shall declare. Kol atzmeisei teimarnu. All my bones shall declare. What does that mean? My bones don't declare, my mouth declares. But when you say it with energy, your bones are also involved. By the way, you know a lot of people shake when they daven. You ever saw Hasidic Jews shake when they daven?
Oh.
Why do they shake when they daven?
Putting more
People
into
think,
it.
what are you shaking? What is this?
Yeah.
You're putting your whole body into it.
Shaking or shuffling?
Shuckling, same thing.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Yeah.
You're shaking your body back
Yeah,
and forth.
yeah.
Why are you doing that? Because you don't only want
You
your
have
mouth
your-
to be involved
you
in
have
that
your
in
body.
davening. You want your all your bones.
Mm.
Every part of you should be in.
But also, parts where you have to bow, you're already bowing.
Bowing is already involved the whole body, yeah. But when people daven, they shake.
Yeah.
People look at it, scans. What is that? What is this funny behavior? But it's because of this.
Okay.
This also is what the rabbis meant when they said, if the Torah reposes in all the 248 organs, it will be preserved. But if not, it will not be preserved. Means is, preserved means that you'll remember it. It's a very interesting thing he's going to say now. What makes a person forget? Where does forgetfulness come from? You learn something today, and tomorrow you don't remember what you learned
That's
today.
Lack of attention.
Lack
What?
of attention is good,
Lack
but
of
also,
attention.
but when it's less important to you, you don't put the attention.
What happens
So
if it is important to you? A lot of people forget what they learn. Why?
They don't put all his body and mind together.
Especially when it comes to Torah. those things, that's even more susceptible to forgetfulness. You can read a novel, you remember it more than if you read a chapter in Chumash. For many people, they forget what they learn. Something we all suffer from. What is the reason? He's saying something very interesting. What is Torah? Torah is godliness. Klipa is the antithesis of godliness. Our animal soul or human soul and our body comes from where? Klipa. So in order for Torah, godliness, when we learn Torah, what we're doing is we're ingesting or taking in a godly concept into our mind and into our body. You're fusing two, what would be a little bit opposites, right? You're taking pure godliness and trying to inject it and bring it in to the physical mind, which comes from Klipa. Right? So there's a natural rejection, so to say. There's a natural rejection. There's the two opposites. So how do you make that the Torah that you take into your mind should stay there? You have to diminish the klipa part of you, so that the holy part of you, the godliness that you just brought into your mind, the Torah, can sit there and stay there. The more you're involved in klipa reality, the less you can absorb and maintain or retain the godliness that you just took in. Hence you forget. So how do you remember the Torah that you learn?
Say it over and over again.
Say it over and over. That's very true. That's actually a very good point. The more you learn, the more you repeat what you learn, the more you remember. But why? Because the more you learn, the more you're undoing the klipa in your reality, and the more you're susceptible to holiness. So let's read it in his words. Look what he said. This is also what the rabbis meant when they said, if the Torah reposes in all the 200, the more you're engaged in the Torah that you're learning, so more of your klipa is becoming one with Hashem. More of your physical body is now uniting with Hashem and being infused and subsumed and dissolved in the reality of Hashem when you're learning Torah. If the Torah reposes in all 248 organs, it will be preserved. But if not, if it's just your mind, you're not engaged in your totality, it will not be preserved. For the forgetfulness comes from the klipa of the body and vital animal soul, which are of the klipas nega, that is sometimes absorbed into holiness, which is accomplished when one weakens their power and transfers all their strength into the holiness of Torah and prayer. So the more you're in touch, you have to weaken the klipa within you. Then the Torah is less because is less rejected. There's less rejection, so to say. Less of the klipa is the opposite of holiness. But thank God, our klipa is not totally opposite of holiness. Our klipa is klipas noiga. It has the potential to be transformed into holiness. But till you transform it, it's klipa. It conceals godliness. So you're trying to unite pure godliness, the wisdom of Hashem Torah, with your mind, your klipa, with your human soul. The more you engage the klipa, the human soul, and infuse it with godliness, which means the more it is involved in the Torah learning, the weaker the klipa aspect of it. So you're only learning with your mind. You're sitting there like this in your mind. You're learning with your mind. So your hands are not engaged, your body is not engaged. Most of your human experience is not engaged in that. So the chances that it will be forgotten are greater. But the more the klipa is transformed into holiness, the more of the klipa in your body is connected to that learning, right? The weaker the klipa aspect becomes, and the stronger, the more it becomes absorbed in the holiness. And then it becomes less of a contradiction, and the Torah can be absorbed and stay there.
The other perspective of this, Rabbi, is what are the things that we do remember? And probably the answer to that, between others, is the things that are meaningful to you.
That's true too. There's a lot of aspects to this.
Right? So, talking about Torah, it's saying if this is something that is meaningful to you, then you should be able to absorb and retain, no? And make it part of your life.
So what's your experience? When you learn Torah, do you remember what you learned?
You're asking probably the wrong person here. But I certainly pay attention to the things that, like I'm doing right now, because I'm learning and I'm interested and I'm engaged. And these are things that I'm taking with me, part of my learning in general.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And not everything I will remember, but I will remember the things that are meaningful to me and that, I can carry with me along. Same as your speeches when you're talking about, every Shabbat in there and I'm listening. Because we have the Torah, which is a book, and then the interpretations of this, all the different layers. I found that to be really, really interesting, no? Because it has been through years and ages of people just understanding deeper and deeper, and today we probably know more than we ever knew before. But these are lessons for life altogether, I think, no?
Correct.
With current applications, so I'm really interested.
I think you're 100% right when you say that when you learn a topic in Torah that has relevance to you, you're going to remember it more. Yeah. There's no question about that. But that can also be because of what we're just saying here. When it has relevance to you, it's penetrating you.
Yeah.
You're showing less resistance to it. So more of you is engaged in that. And therefore it's retained. But the point that he's trying to bring out over here is that it's the physical world that we're trying to uncover. It's to remove the concealment, the shell, the peel, and uncover the truth of it, the godliness, and bring in more godliness into it. How do you do that? By engaging the physical world. How do you engage the physical world? With your physical body. With what part of your body? Most importantly, the action part of your body, your hands, your feet, the totality of your human soul and your body. When it comes to learning Torah and davening, over there, less of the physical body is involved, right? When you're shaking a lulav, more of your physical body is involved than when you're meditating on a prayer. Would you agree? It's clear.
Sure.
So what he's saying, what happens when you meditate in prayer? So you're going to say only a little certain aspect of your soul is connected to God. So he says, it's up to you. If you daven and your body and everything about you is disconnected from it, then it will lack that. You're right. Then it won't engage that. So therefore, put your whole 248 organs into it. Daven a little louder. Daven with more fire. Yeah, then you're going to engage the parts of your body that will, and then you'll remember what you daven and learn. Because you're less in touch with the shell reality, and you're more in touch with klippa. So therefore, your body is becoming refined to be able to absorb Torah and to retain it. The more klippa in your body, the less Torah in your body. That's the fact. This is a seesaw.
But Rabbi, it's also what you're learning. To me, a parsha is much more easier to understand than
Sure,
this you need a teacher to explain.
100%.
You can just read words and not have the deep meaning of what.
But you
saying.
know what? When you go to a class and you're being taught, you're thinking more.
Oh, absolutely.
So maybe that you'll remember more than just what you're reading with your eyes, fleeting in with the davening.
Absolutely, but
that may be easier, and that's why it goes right in and out. Sometimes the harder it is, the more you have to toil. When you remember the most? When you toil. When you toil to understand, you'll remember it most. So it's the opposite. It's actually the harder parts of the Torah that you need to engage much more of your mind and yourself and your soul and your totality and your you have to toil to understand it. That's going to be, because then you're really penetrating a part of your mind that when you're learning easy stuff, you're just on the surface, you're not really getting it. So the harder you work at it, the more you got. So that's also true.
Can I ask you a question regarding
Yes,
this?
sure.
Sorry to interrupting here. So when you talk about, the mental aspect of praying and the physical aspect of praying, no? And I just want to have an example when you say the Shema, for example, what goes through your mind? What are you thinking about beyond the physical aspect that you do?
Well, sometimes I travel from Weston all the way throughout the whole world and my mind wanders. I'm kidding. I mean, I'm not sometimes I pray better, sometimes I don't pray that well, What am I thinking when I'm saying the Shema? The first thing you should do is think the words, what the meaning of the words are. That's the starters. That would go a long way. If you finish that and you already want to even go to the next level, you can think the depth and the deeper meaning of those words. For example, let's take the verse Shema. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hear, O Israel, God is our Lord, God is one. A 5-year-old, when you tell him that, it's a simple statement. Listen up, everyone, all Israel, all Jews. God is one, there's no two gods. That's a very basic meaning of that statement. Have you thought those words? Yeah, that's a meaningful thought. It's a meaningful intention. But the more sophisticated you are, so that the deeper you can delve into those very words. Hashem Elokeinu. Hey, wait a minute, there's two names of God over here. What are these two names? Hashem, Elokim. What are these two names? So you can start trying to figure out what are the two names of God. What does each name represent? That alone you can sit 2 years and figure out, and not quite get.
There's like 70 names, right?
There's names. So each name, obviously, those words are meaningful. Every word in Torah is meaningful. Every word in the Siddur is meaningful. If the Torah shows two names and not two other names, it's because there's something about these two names that belong in the Shema prayer. So what are those two names? Hashem, Adonai, represents one level of God. Elokeinu represents another level of God. Then he gets back to Hashem. It says twice, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. So it says twice one name and one's the other name. There's a reason for that too. What does one mean? What does Echad mean? So there's layers and layers of thought of contemplating this very one verse. Now you understand why some of the older and prior generations, Hasidim, used to daven and spend sometimes 6 hours a day in prayer. My father tells me that when he was in yeshiva, as a young student, 48, 49, 50, there was the Hasidic mentors in his yeshiva, one in particular, but more than one, who used to engage on a Shabbos. He would start davening at 8 o'clock in the morning, he'd finish at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Full-time job.
A whole day. He was on fire. Now, obviously, he knew how to read Hebrew, so it didn't take him all that time to read the Hebrew. I mean, it wasn't a problem of reading. He could have read all those words in 1 hour.
Yeah.
And, there wasn't a problem of him stumbling on the words. He was contemplating. He was getting into it. His whole entire existence was involved in the davening. He was loving Hashem during davening. He was engaged. This davening was a real experience for him. But it's because he was also meditating on the words itself and making it part of his own existence, seeing how does it relate to his own life. How does he become a better person as a result of what he just thought, what he just meditated. So davening was an all-encompassing experience for him. We daven, that's the way we daven. So to answer your question, in one verse, you ask me, what do I think? It depends on the day. Sometimes I'm doing a little better. Sometimes you're not so good. I wish I did a little. I wish I had more days where I daven better. Let's put it that way. But it's a hard thing. Davening is not easy. It's easy to say the words, but it's not easy to
Contemplate it.
It's really absorb the meaning.
What's your?
At the end of this conversation, we have two important aspects to bring holiness to us: praying on one side and doing mitzvahs for the other side. I mean, physical action. most of the people has one of them. Are people who's just praying, are praying a lot, and probably don't do much.
No, someone that's praying a lot is doing the mitzvahs also, usually.
Or probably the opposite is probably more
Yeah.
frequent. People who make mitzvah but don't come to pray.
Okay.
I mean, how is
what's more important?
exactly? I mean,
Prayer or doing mitzvahs? I think praying is also a mitzvah. When you say doing mitzvahs, prayer is a mitzvah. It's not like it's not a mitzvah. So you must pray. So for example, if someone says I can go to shul or give charity, you can do both.
let's say
You can go to shul or put on tefillin.
every shul has people who contribute to the shul, make charity to the shul, but probably most of the time you don't never see them.
Could be. So you have to work to get them to come to shul as well. What's more important? It's a hard thing to answer.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're talking about what the Alter Rebbe is saying over here, ultimately he's saying that the action mitzvahs is what brings godliness into this world more. But he's going to get to the end of chapter 37 where he's going to say that Torah is paramount, that he balances it out. He balances it out. Let's wait.
Mm-hmm.
It's 10 to 11 already. It's late.
Yeah.
Enjoy your day. Take care. Thank you for watching, everyone, and have a
Thank you.
wonderful day, all of you, for
You
coming.
went off like a little.